centers, our operating system would be something like VMware. And we would orchestrate, and we still do, we're a big user, we would orchestrate a whole bunch of different enterprise applications running on top of our enterprise IT. But in the future, the application is not enterprise IT, it's agents. And the operating system is not something like VMware, it's something like Dynamo. And this operating system is running on top of not a data center, but on top of an AI factory. Now we call it Dynamo for a good reason. As you know, the Dynamo was the first instrument that started the last industrial revolution, the industrial revolution of energy. Water comes in, electricity comes out. It's pretty fantastic. Water comes in, you light it on fire, turn it into steam, and then what comes out is this invisible thing that's incredibly valuable. It took another 80 years to go to ultimate and current, but Dynamo is where it all started. Okay, so we decided to call this operating system, this piece of software, insanely complicated software, the NVIDIA Dynamo. It's open source, and we're so happy that so many of our partners are working with us on it. And one of my favorite partners, I just love them so much because the revolutionary work that they do, and also because Ervin's such a great guy. But Perplexity is a great partner of ours in working through this. Okay, so anyhow, really, really great. Okay, so now we're gonna have to wait until we scale up all these infrastructure, but in the meantime, we've done a whole bunch of very in-depth simulation. We have supercomputers doing simulation of our supercomputers, which makes sense. And I'm now gonna show you the benefit of everything I've just said. And remember the factory diagram. On the x-axis is tokens per second throughput, the y-axis, tokens per second throughput of the factory, and the x-axis, tokens per second of the user experience. And you want super smart AIs, and you want to produce a whole bunch of it. This is Hopper. Okay, so this is Hopper, and it can produce for one user, for each user, about 100 tokens per second. This is 8 GPUs, and it's connected with InfiniBand, and I'm normalizing it to tokens per second per megawatt. So it's a 1 megawatt data center, which is not a very large AI factory, but anyhow, 1 megawatt, okay? And so it can produce for each user 100 tokens per second, and it can produce at this level, whatever that happens to be, 100,000 tokens per second for that 1 megawatt data center. Or it can produce about 2.5 million tokens per second, 2.5 million tokens per second for that AI factory if it was super batched up and the customer is willing to wait a very long time. Okay, does that make sense? All right, so nod. All right, because this is where, every GTC, there's the price for entry, you guys know, and it's like, you get tortured with math, okay? This is the only at NVIDIA do you get tortured with math. All right, so Hopper, you get 2.5. Now, what's that 2.5 million? How do you translate that? 2.5 million, remember, ChatGPT is like $10 per million tokens. Right? $10 per million tokens. Let's pretend for a second that's, I think the $10 per million tokens is probably down here. Okay, I'd probably say it's down here, but let me pretend it's up there, because 2.5 million, 10, so $25 million per second. Does that make sense? That's how you think through it. Or on the other hand, if it's way down here, then the question is, so it's 100,000, just divide that by 10, okay? $250,000 per factory per second. And then, as it was, 30 million seconds in a year, and that translates into revenues for that 1 megawatt data center. And so that's your goal. On the one hand, you would like your token rate to be as fast as possible so that you can make really smart AIs. And if you have smart AIs, people pay you more money for it. On the other hand, the smarter the AI, the less you can make in volume. Very sensible trade-off. And this is the curve we're trying to bend. Now, what I'm just showing you right now is the fastest computer in the world.
Mic check, 1, 2, tested,
It's
1, 2,
computer that
mic check, 1, 2,
everything.
checking.
And
Yeah,
so how do we
yeah,
make
yeah.
that better? So the first thing that we do is we come up with Blackwell with NVLink 8. Same Blackwell, that one same compute. And then one compute node with NVLink 8 using FP8. And so Blackwell is just faster, bigger, more transistors, more everything.
Alright, that sounds better.
We like to do more than that. And so we introduce a new precision. It's not quite as simple as 4-bit floating point, but using 4-bit floating point, we can quantize the model, use less energy.
Reaching out to all the massive and crew, big up himself and all says the boy DJ Jiggy Star boy, reaching out, big up our crew. You don't know the thing though.
Remember, one big idea is that every single data center in the future will be power limited.
Kev is
Your
me,
revenues are
King
power
Bob.
limited. You could figure out what your revenues are going to be based on the power you have to work with. This is no different than many other industries. And so we are now a power limited industry. Our revenues were associated with that. Well, based on that,
that was some very useful information there. No, if I don't remember. Or come areas in my life that sometimes my brain just shuts out, you know. Revere. I don't see it coming. We're not frightened for nobody, but we respect somebody, and we're better than everybody. No boy no better than we. Never mind say you could repost your own live. Oh, I don't know if we got 10 people from page. The boy fool your fudge. want me get banned for already. TikTok, me just go live. That we live what? 11 minutes. Oh, this song over there I sing. On this mouse. So I'll tell you the most. You're live in the elevator, because